Previously we looked at the Realacc Real1 frame, and this is it right here. It has the vertical arms. And this was cloned after the Talon frame, and we compared this frame and the Talon frame in a previous video. Well, a couple of the big differences between this and the original frame: this is a lot different shape here on the top, little covering, and also this is a straight X frame, whereas the Talon was actually a stretched X. Well, Realacc put out a new frame, and this one's called the Realacc Real1 Stretched S, or the Real1S. So, can you imagine what that means? Yes, it means it's stretched. So this is the box the Real1S came in, the Realacc 235, and this is the black version, whereas the other one I had was actually orange. So I'm kind of anxious to see how these two compare to each other. The metal pieces, the screws, battery strap, some carbon fiber plates, these little strengtheners, and some instructions. So I'll get this thing put together and we'll take a little closer look at this one and compare it to the original Real1 frame and see how they compare. One of the first differences I noticed is that on these new arms they got rid of the hole out here in the middle like they had on the old one. Also, if you look here, the arms are a little bit longer than they were on the regular X, and that's probably just because it's stretched, so the arms have to be a little longer to get the motors and propellers out of the way a little bit further so they don't hit the frame. Here I have the arms on, and you can definitely tell this thing is a stretched X. So here's the Real1S fully assembled. It has a few differences that I noticed immediately from the original frame, but also included with this frame, it also has an extra set of motor screws. There's 12 here, and there's another 4 out here on the arms, along with another nylon spacer on each of those holding the little braces on. It also has another set of nylon spacers, a pair of screws for like a run cam, and a couple of M3 6mm screws. Not really sure what those are for. But on here, a couple of the differences that I noticed immediately. First of all, they took this front spacer. If you look up here, the front spacer is clear up here, and they moved it back. And that was a complaint I had on the original one, that the spacer limited how far the camera angle could go. And so I was glad to see that immediately. Another thing they did is they increased the thickness of this top plate. Here's a pretty thick one there, and on this one, you can see it's quite a bit thinner. So we'll go ahead and get some measurements off this frame too. Alright, let's go ahead and measure these things. This one here, the top plates are about 2 millimeters thick. There we go, I'm not bending it anymore. About 2 millimeters thick. These arms are about 4 millimeters wide, and they're also, I think, 14 tall. Yeah, about 14 millimeters tall. That makes these arms the same dimensions as the original Real1. Alright, so this top plate on here is 2.86 millimeters. So it's almost 3. On the original frame, this one here is about 2 millimeters. They must have had some problems with this breaking or something. And I mean, even 2 millimeters seems pretty thick on this, and I don't know. Whatever. They can make it thicker if they want. That makes it all the better, a little bit more durable. Another difference you'll see on here is they have these 2 screws here, the 2 screw holes, and they have the original slider just like they did before. On this original Real1 frame, they had these 2 screw holes also, but they were just a little bit further apart right there. And I couldn't really figure out what that back one was for. We'll try a run cam in this in a second. But these top plates are the same dimensions, so they should be interchangeable between the Real1S and the Real1. So if you already built this one, it would just be a matter of moving your motors over and taking this top plate, moving it over to this other frame, and you'd have most of it already done. Just like the Real1, this has the holes drilled for your 30 by 30 hole spacing flight boards and all-in-one ESCs. Then it also has a second set of holes in here, and those are for your 20 by 20 flight boards and all-in-one ESCs. Now you'd just be aware that these are M3 holes, so if you buy an all-in-one ESC or a flight board with M2s, they might be a little loose when you put them through here, but maybe a little hot glue will help fill the hole a little bit and also help hold it in place. The battery strap that's included with the Real1S weighs about 2.8 grams. So here's the Real1S with the battery strap on it, and it comes in about, move that out of the way, 113.9 grams. Now the original Real1, just to give a little comparison here, see what it weighs in at, about 106. So it's a little bit lighter, and that's probably because of the extra weight of the arms being a little bit longer. The length between the motors diagonally on this original X frame were 220, and on the stretched X, if I line that up near the center of the motor and run over here, you can see this one comes in, wow, right at 235, just like the box said. If we measure across side to side, it comes in about 132 millimeters, and from the front to back, it's going to be a lot longer, about 195 millimeters. So here's the Real1S sitting next to the Real1. Now, why would somebody want a longer pitch as compared to an X? Well, some people think, and I kind of tend to agree, that the longer stretched X here gives you a little bit better control in your racing over your pitch. And the big advantage of that is that it's going to help you stay at a consistent altitude throughout the whole race, because every time your quadcopter goes up and then has to come back down, you're taking time to do both of those. If you can keep that line straight, then it's a lot faster and a lot shorter. Now the roll is still important, but not nearly as important as a pitch in a race. So here's a Runcam Swift 2, and this has the special back where it has the extra pieces that come off, and that allows you to use 2 screws to hold it on. Well, the back one is pretty much set, and this first one is able to pivot inside of this, inside the little sliding thing here. So you can get the camera angle where you like it, and then you can tighten it down, and it should hold itself in place. And it's going to be kind of nice because you're going to have 2 screws on this side and 2 on the other side helping to hold it in place. Now, if you get this too high of an angle, you're going to start pitching or peaking the lens up above the carbon fiber. If you keep it down here, what kind of angle is that? About 45 or so. It should be pretty well protected from rolls and shouldn't have too much damage that can incur to the lens. Although I don't ever guarantee that, because you never know what you're actually hitting. Hopefully just the ground, and it should be fine. Unless there's sticks or rocks on the ground, that would not be helpful. But the camera's held up pretty high in this frame. And the one nice thing about that is it allows the connector here to not interfere with the flight board, which is what happens on a lot of other frames, especially when they start getting a lot of angle. They tend to angle into the flight board, but this one shouldn't have that problem. Speaking of differences, one thing I wouldn't have minded is having this thing moved up a little bit. Just like when I had the camera on there, you can see that having it clear back here is going to make the camera angle almost enough to where it's bending backward instead of actually, straight up. And I don't really know that going anywhere beyond 90 degrees is kind of pointless, because then you're essentially flying down if you're looking straight at the camera. Anyway, they could have moved this forward a little bit more and had a little bit more strength up here. This one here never really worried me with these end pieces, just because the spacers out here, it gives a lot of strength between these plates, and this back here is giving a lot of strength back behind. So you'd have to hit something really hard to even get any kind of flex in these 2 pieces hanging off the front. These, however, since there's so much hanging off the front, you can see here I'm just pushing a little bit and they are flexing quite a bit. So when this thing goes into a roll, you might have a little bit of an issue with this thing breaking. Maybe. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but it's just hanging out there quite a ways. And also, there's not a lot of material down here to help give this thing much support. So this spacer, moving this up another, I don't know, a little bit more, would have really helped with the strength on this. But not having holes in the arm should make them a little bit stronger, and the top plate being a little bit thicker would help hold the antenna on there and keep it from cracking inside here, where it would have some pressure if it rolls over and pushes on the antenna real hard. But overall, though, this would be a pretty good frame for racing. It's 110 grams or close to 110 grams. And so it's not a bad racer. A lot of the normal quads that I've been seeing that actually have some strength and rigidity to them run anywhere between 90 and 110. But the ultralights are coming along and they're weighing down near 60 or 70. So this one will not going to compete weight-wise with an ultralight, but being a little bit stronger, you would probably walk home with your quad in one piece, where an ultralight may break a little bit easier, especially if you're a crazier flyer. Anyway, if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments and I'll try to answer them as best I can. And as always, thanks for watching.